seriously?
Are there any swear words that have become normal words?
I'll give you one that I love. Um, there's the word occupy, which we don't think anything of it today, right?
Not at all.
There was a period of I think it was about 200 years. So occupy was a euphemism originally. It meant what it means today. And then it became a euphemism for sex. And that became really prominent for the word, So occupy stopped being used for anything but sex. And it became taboo enough that people stopped using it altogether. And it just kind of fell out of use. And then at some point, some scholar must have seen it written somewhere in an old book and thought, oh, that's a cool word. I'm going to start using that word. And it came back into use. And so today we don't think anything of it, but it was bad enough, apparently, that people stopped using it. So anyways, I find that one really fascinating that happened.
So occupy used to be like fuck?
Something like that. I don't know how it was used exactly. All we know is that there was about a 200-year span that it just wasn't used, and we know that it was a euphemism at one point.
Are there other ones like that too?
A plague on both your houses!
I mean, plague. Plague would be a good one.
Yeah.
Because there was a time that was really bad. So like if you think about when, and I forget which character says that in Romeo and Juliet, a plague on both your houses. When the play was supposed to take place, that would have been a really bad thing to say. That would be, basically condemning a person's family to dying. And that would have been pretty taboo because plague was a real worry at the time. There's a few others that we find kind of funny today, like ye gads. That would have been bad at some point, bad enough that it was censored in writing. It was originally a euphemism for you gods or ye gods, and then you put an A in it to make it no longer bad, so ye gads instead of ye gods.
What is your personal favorite?
I love that question. The one I always go to is, it's not common today, but I love it, is shitabed, which is a slur it's a 17th century slur that basically means this person is so slovenly or so drunk that they shit their bed when they go to sleep. And there's just something about that image I think is beautiful. And it's a good slur because it doesn't demean any particular group of people. It just demeans that person. So that's my favorite.
That was our next question, is like favorite historical one. Are there other historical ones that you think like, oh, those are pretty good?
There's some other ones it's not a particular word, but I find the word cunt fascinating because, again, this is a really old word and there's no good explanation that I know of that tells us where it came from. We know that like in early anatomical drawings for doctors, they had things labeled with cunt. So it wasn't a terrible word. And there's a really old map of London that had a street called Gropa Kuntalana, which basically means, Grope Cunt Lane. And that, not surprisingly, is where the prostitutes were. So I would guess that wasn't a good word, but it wasn't as terrible. It's hard to imagine having a city name today called Grope Cunt Lane.